And like that, another gangster government hangman glow in the dark nigger scheme is done. I'm kidding. I was watching some of the Frankie Duke stuff and Francis E. Duke, the Esquire. God dang it, that's some hilarious shit. That's some hilarious skits posting. But something recently came up that I was waiting for. I'm like, no. Another. This is shoe 1 drop, shoe 2 drops. Boy, not a lot of people talking about this. Another bump. Whoa, okay. Now people are talking about this more. Oh, look at this really bad story in relationship to it that's totally, almost hilariously disastrous. Oh, now I'm getting stuff popping up on my YouTube feed talking about this subject. Interesting, So, EVs. Probably you guys are seeing this too. A friend and I who are looking at what's the likelihood of EV investments going on and this and that, which actually an aggressive investor, now I'm starting to get like these ideas better. An aggressive investor would have, say with a group of friends, done a big search on who was having meetings about mandating EVs, like where they lived. Then you find the regional maker of EVs and you see if there's articles about them in various papers, if people are pouring money in, things like that. And that's how you work it. Real aggressive, you look into their supply chain and you invest in that, but you make it something that you do it like for maybe about 2.5 years. Because of course this is somebody, they're jumping into this. I'm thinking this would have been a similar thing to fracking companies. I'm imagining this was a similar strategy. That this is going to pay off. It's going to pay off big early. And then you have no idea. You have no idea what might come from it. So EVs was looking like there was this, and there still are these people that they cannot deal with this idea of, no, you are now absolutely up against physics. I swear, this is one of the strangest things about liberals and people who, like, they cling to it like a religion and don't get it. Like, no, your Democratic Party point of view, you cling to it like it is some kind of dogma, and that's it. It's not other people. The right are adaptive. If something doesn't work, it doesn't work. That's definitively. That's why we're always testing the feasibility of things. We know what what we don't know if it works or not is when you pray for something. We're not sure if it's going to work. We can invest in that. Because that's acceptably very not exactly real. So. Yeah, so, but what you have metrics for within the realm of creation, that you can then test. You can actually see if it, such a cute dog. It's like one of those really puffy ones that looks like it's smiling all the time. So you could test whether something works and within creation, because there's metrics for it. When it's scientific, so you have metrics. That's almost kind of what defines science from other things, is the metrics that you gather on things. So now that we're getting better and better and better metrics on EVs, one is the metrics on if an EV goes horribly wrong, what happens. A lot of what is being said about Tesla is a type of corporate espionage going on, so that people can just fundamentally fuck with Elon's pockets. Tesla's vehicles are going to remain a wealthy person's kind of not toy, but a wealthy person's vehicle. It's just simply never. It's going to be like how the BMW after two generations finally went down to the $30,000-$40,000 range, and you started seeing professional women in BMWs all the time. So, and that then made everybody else start designing vehicles in ways that kind of the middle class professional could own it, rather than fundamentally the upper management. So China just talked about how they're going to put controls on the export of rare earths. I'm thinking it's so that they can better start planning out rare earths projects, because I'm figuring probably with the way China does everything, they now have the issue of you mine this, you have these mines, and then the whole area is left all fucked up, and that this is eventually starts to become more and more and more loss of arable land, or land that people could build housing on, and then there's that, the gigantic mega super duper housing scam that is the basis of the Chinese economy. And so, which isn't terribly, at the moment, dissimilar from ours. We're having a similar problem. I have no idea what this person's doing. Okay, here we go. All right. And so, Oregon, you never know what people are doing with their vehicles, because they float. They float here, and it's really awkward. But, so, one of the things that, now that China's putting controls on these materials and their export, this is just the beginning. It's a government solution to whatever the problem's supposed to be. So it's just the beginning of doing that over and over and over and over and over again. And that this is going to force countries to have to find their own sources, and it's just now because also then the other thing about this is one of the many ways that they can actually put a little bit more of a squeeze on Taiwan and their industries. The fact that the United States has not onboarded microchip manufacturer under the Biden administration, this is incredible. This is like a strategic failure that it absolutely is far worse than Afghanistan. Just what the loss, what I've started learning about Taiwan and its microchip manufacture, I'm like, yeah, this is going to be totally fucked if as China starts putting the screws to them, which they have to. They have to. So that's the way the strategies are all building up. So, and yeah, with what's going on with Ukraine right now, of course, China's like, boy, Taiwan, sunny Taiwan, but anyway, the demand for EVs has also just collapsed. I was just seeing, this is one of those videos that popped up, and there's been a couple more of these that people are like, no, there's a variety of these vehicles that aren't that bad. But for the most part, there's all these problems with just getting it charged. And then a variety of issues that come up with the fact that it's almost entirely operated by, it's like a video game, it's not really a car, in the classic sense of that you command the axle of the carriage. And so It's this thing is just interpreting your emotions through the heads-up display and the input devices, and so one of the key things that started to come up was mandated ones. So where they started to mandate these have been immense failures now, and they're comically failed, comical failures, like the buses in Northern Europe that are these electric buses. They're not electro-diesel, they're just electric, and that nobody seemed to understand, like, well, no, once it snows, it's too cold for you to have the chemical reaction in the lithium-ion battery to get going. You're going to actually need to heat the bus up using something and actually like heat the whole thing up. So that it will operate, and then on top of it, like it can't get cold. There's generally there's a certain level of cold that it just can't drop to that level. But I mean, just imagine this. So you have something. The whole issue with a battery powered thing like that is heat dissipation. So now your problem is the heat will dissipate and it will keep the battery from functioning. And these are something that would be mandated mostly in the northern hemisphere at the present time, the countries that are doing that kind of thing. And so inevitably this will end up with, no, you're going to totally be like in the cold with one of these, inevitably. And then there's the issue of places that, okay, the cold is coupled then with moisture. So say it's just a very sleety place with lots of rain during the winter. Okay, so now you have to make absolutely sure that you keep maintenance up on this thing, because this thing cannot have water get into its works. It can't have water get into its works. So you're gonna have very high maintenance costs of these kind, because if water gets into the works, at some stage you're going to have a horrible, horrible disaster as the water and the lithium-ion battery finally meet in a fiery battle of death. So. Then there's the comical trucks. So Tesla supposedly has figured this out. And I really, everything that I'm seeing, people are pointing out like, no. Here's what is, here's this testing and the full footage and blah, 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 blah. No, this is actually a pretty good, solid vehicle. It has rear wheel steering, hence the way that it looks when it goes through these crash tests, because it doesn't have a rear axle. And so the thing that started to hit me was, I was like, okay, but these are going to still, it's not just the cost of it, it's the maintenance. And then trying to charge this thing. And that the average, I remember talking to Liberal Dad, and Liberal Dad's just like, oh no, we just need to subsidize it. That's it. We just need to subsidize it. That's all. Unquestioningly subsidize it, because, hey, we subsidized other stuff. It wasn't that times change. We should see if this is feasible, being that we, it's not the 1950s anymore. We have like that level of knowledge and ability plus, right? I mean, like now, we subsidize a market to encourage a completely unscientific area of gender sexuality, So I started really thinking 2024 is going to be the year that the electric vehicle thing really not just dies, but explodes in the parking lot of electric vehicles. making a giant fire, a giant glorious blaze. And yeah, and it's going to be it's going to be kind of fascinating, because one of the key things is everybody has to start controlling energy. This is a key way that the nationalist future was inevitably going to end up, is that at some point, this is what cyberpunk gets into, everybody gets in, at some point people took their ball and went home. And the UN is starting to now become this place that more and more and more nations are being given good reason to take their toys and fucking leave. The EU is almost begging countries, just take your shit and leave. And we'll just collect money from you in penalties forever, so that like, we're gonna just leave you bedraggled, and keep insisting that Muslims invade your country, and rape your daughters. So yeah, this isn't even really one of these things where I'm like, yeah, take that, electric vehicles. Like, it's actually, again, like the worst written shit ever. Like, just everything is bad writing now. No, we got this new way. We're going to save the world this time, gang. Now we're going to all ride on electric-powered robots, I mean, at least they could have made these things, like, small. You saw there are the electric-powered bikes. Those are doing great all over the place. The little electrical-powered bikes are doing great, We're getting a better sense of battery failure issues and stuff like that, and motor failure issues and computer failure issues. We're getting a much better sense of this now. These are vehicles that it looks like people can feasibly afford. But once again, Eugene, Oregon, I just saw on one of the newspapers that the people who are providing all of these scooters and this app that you could pay for the scooter and blah, blah, blah. They're folding. Subsidized it. Oh my God, subsidized it. All over the place. There's these things now set up, taking away parking spaces for all these electric scooters. And they're especially beloved by the crackheads, so that they could go all around town quickly and steal from various places. I'm not kidding. Like, you'd see them, like certain people, that was obviously their method. Because somebody's going to throw them in jail for stealing? In Oregon? What are you talking about? All of us pay taxes so that dysfunctionals can steal and take drugs. That's why you live in Oregon, is so you could support, all this wide variety of dysfunctional people. So that's why you work. Otherwise, you would just get on benefits of some sort. So that was just something I was rolling over in my head. Is I started to see, like, the more and more and more kind of troubles for EVs. And then when I started to see, if these aren't made well, if they're not up to, like, very high standards, like, people are trying to say, oh, the Tesla did this. But once you see, like, okay, when EVs attack, when you see videos of EV disasters, then you're like, okay, where is that? And you're looking and you're like, this isn't in America. That happened in China. Like, all of this is, like, a lot of this is happening in China. And there's even now in Vietnam, apparently, there is a phrase, oh, that's Chinese. Meaning, don't buy that. Don't buy it. It's Chinese. That's where they're manufacturing in East Asia now. They're talking about the they're like one of the biggest manufacturers in human history over our lifetimes is now notorious for having products that it's like, no, no, no. It'll probably be substandard. And which says a lot about, it's telling you a lot about what maybe we don't know about Vietnam right now. And the kind of country that's come from, the post-war period. So, there's this part of me that's like, there's no like, it's just, this is another one of these things that's so much money, all these resources have been poured into, all of these efforts, and then people, and then these insane plans. All we've got to do is just never have a normal thing again, and the MacGuffin devices will like just pilot us around. We won't even have to think, dude, Yeah, it'll be just like everything we've ever wanted. It's fucking magical technology. And now it's like, no, and now that people are seeing like, this might not pan out like we thought, and it's like, oh no, it's worse than that. And there's now very obvious issues of the technology. And if you walk through it logically and you compare it to what you have with the present technology already there at the price point that everything's at, and it's like, no, electric vehicles would have to fall tremendously. And so Canada mandating this, that's it. It's either Trudeau and his party have to lose pretty much forever, or Canada's done. They will be done by trying to do this, and it won't work. And eventually, it'll be they'll be less and less able to finance these grand schemes. That's another one that's kind of starting to who's going to finance this? Like, what finance groups and what institutions are you going to be endlessly able to beg them for money? No, the MacGuffin will totally work one day. No, one day we'll have like MacGuffin feeders everywhere so the MacGuffins could like roam freely and like just power up at the MacGuffin station. And then when you call for them, go, MacGuffin, come here, where you could just ride it to work. No. And it's not even the idea that what they're trying, that it's, okay, why don't we need to vastly change our zoning so that people don't have to drive as much. That the market will naturally start to fill in, but no. We need to add a whole new layer to everything. What we're going to do is we're going to subsidize these really gigantically heavy bicycles that people won't want to ride because of how heavy they are. Then we're going to have all these scooters at these stations. But don't worry, the criminals aren't going to steal them. Don't worry about that. No. Don't even think about that. That they're going to steal everything. No, they're not going to do that. Our precious criminals will never do that. All right, later.